It is great to be here, and one of the reasons that I decided to come is because when Mary asks you to do something, you just do it. So that's one of my primary reasons for being here. But seriously, I also have been delighted to be able to be part of the morning and the breakout sessions and learning from the great work that you all are doing and will do this afternoon. I just think that the way that you are approaching this collaboratively, really thinking through these issues together as a region and as a community and different sectors is frankly one of the paths forward that we should be thinking about across the country, because some of what I will talk to you about really has happened organically with individuals just trying to figure out how to do really scale modular construction on their own without the kind of backbone of support and collective action that I see, I think, coming out of this room. So I want to thank the sponsors, too, for really having the insight to do this. I want to do two things here. One is just take a little bit of time up front, partly as observations about what I heard this morning. I'm not going to repeat all the great reasons that we all need to be thinking about adopting quickly a approach to off-site construction as a part of the work that we all need to be doing to get more housing built and to make it more affordable. But I do want to add a little bit of my voice to that and the urgency of it. And then I want to spend the bulk of the time here talking about some of the keys, I think, to the success that we're having in California with this new factory in the Bay Area that I'm associated with in a number of different ways, both on the advisory board for the company and also leading their innovation work that is publicly available as part of the Terner Center work. So why do we need to do this? I just want to give you my perspective, which is that think about the last time that this country, as a country, rose up and joined public policy action and public policy money to tackle a big housing effort. When was that? Post-World War II is the last darn time that we as a nation have come together and said, with urgency, we need to house our population. We need to provide places for these soldiers coming home from the war, who are having families, who need a good quality of life in communities. And we built communities. And how did we do that? We did that through collective action at the governmental level and at the private sector level. Taking one step back from post-World War II, during World War II, what did we do? We built a Liberty ship a day in the Bay Area of California, including on Mare Island, in a building where this new factory that I'm associated with is located. And how did we do that? Who built those ships? Bechtel, Kaiser. So we had private sector, mobilizing to solve a problem, backed, of course, with governmental money and action. And I want to say, I think we have the same obligation today to kind of bring together forces to mobilize to make that kind of difference again. And again, I'm not going to go through all the statistics that you heard this morning about the urgency of the problem, but I do want to just add a couple to my thought process here. One is we have 9.5 million more renters in this country today than we did prior to the recession. We have a baby boomlet, my children, who are now forming households that are the children of the rest of the gray hairs in this room. The boomer generation. We were the largest generation, post-World War II children, but now this generation is a larger demographic than we were, or than our, so our children are a larger demographic. And young people rent, always have, probably always will. Hopefully, eventually, some of these young people will be able to aspire to home ownership. But right now, the multifamily sector, because of what I just described, plus what TG described relative to urbanization, sustainability issues, there's a drive for more multifamily in more locations for this upcoming generation that absolutely has to be a large part of solving our housing affordability issue. Now, you heard about all the other reasons why costs are up, but I just want to say that this isn't a bubble that's a cycle that's a year or two, and so we need to build just like we spent the past 50 plus years suburbanizing the United States and building single family homes everywhere. We need to kind of have a massive effort, I don't want to say to reverse that trend, but to do things from a public policy standpoint that are going to enable us to quickly provide more housing in a different typology than we've been doing up until now. And so that's why I think we really have an urgency about this. And I think that offsite construction can be a major part of the solution. Now, it's not the only one. It's a piece of the puzzle. But it is going to require, and you heard a little bit about this from our speakers this morning, and I just want to emphasize this. This is a major disruption to every actor in this play, or every actor in this drama, right? Architects, general contractors, local governments, the manufacturers themselves. We have got to change the way we do business. Just as an example, architects, I know there's probably a lot here. I love them. I teach at UC Berkeley with the architectural school. But think about how architects actually get paid for the work that they do, right? They get paid project by project, set of plans by set of plans. And we probably really need to rethink that model. Why not, get a licensing fee? Why not get royalties off of what a factory is producing based on your design? I mean, we have to rethink how this business model works if we're going to really adopt in a big way off-site construction. So I know that feels, maybe risky, scary, but I want to say that I think we need to do this incremental transformation, but we need to do it quickly. And some people will, be hurt. I understand that, but I think ultimately, as Stephanie mentioned, it's going to be better for the workers, better for the economy, and better for everybody who's going to have a place to live by us taking these kinds of adjustments and doing it quickly. So let me just give you a couple of examples of some of the things that we're doing at Factory OS that I think are keys to the success that we're having. And the first one is the way we think about and work with labor. So everyone here, as we've gone along, has talked about there's a labor shortage, laborers are retiring, all of which is true. One of the things that Factory OS has done, and a few others have done, is embraced a new way of working for the labor force. So our factory is a unionized factory. Every employee on the factory floor is represented by the Carpenters Union under a manufacturing agreement. So whether they're, doing carpentry or doing electrical work or doing plumbing, people are all cross-trained. And we have 3 different kind of categories of workers in terms of junior up the line. So there's growth potential, but they're all with one union. And as the union representative says to me, the reason we as the Carpenters Union are embracing this way of work is because if we didn't have a United Auto Worker, right, you never would have had that factory production if you had the windshield wipers union and the engine union and the tire union. No, we had the United Auto Workers. And so they get that in order to have this collective action, one union represented for the entire workforce is the new way to go. So is that a radical change for the trades? Yes. But is it going to benefit the future workers and our future communities? Yes. And so we are delighted that we have worked through this agreement with labor. It opens up a whole new class of labor. I think TJ mentioned this morning. Somebody mentioned this. We have women. We have training programs with prison. We have training programs with a rehab facility, and we are taking people who were making minimum wage a day ago, and they come to the factory and they're making $35 an hour, plus benefits, plus vacation, plus they are working, think about this, they're working 5 days a week, 50 weeks a year, rain or shine, they are working. So very different than a typical construction labor. They're working in a controlled environment, a ergonomically appropriate environment, and so you just open up the workforce to a lot of number of people. The last thing I'll say about labor that's really good for the world is that this labor is driving maybe 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes from their home in the region to their job every day. Whereas the typical on-site construction worker in California lives an hour and a half one way from the location of wherever they're doing their work. And then they're driving home the other way. And so the roads are clogged from 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and they're clogged at 5 a.m. in the morning. And it's horrible for the environment, and it's horrible for their quality of life. So we believe that this new workforce is another benefit to the world and an important part of adopting an off-site construction strategy. The second area that I think is a key to our success so far, we were talking about this a little bit at lunch, is what kind of capital, and I'm sorry I couldn't participate in the capital breakout sessions because I was in the regulatory breakout sessions, and so you might have had some conversation about this, but our factory chose a location that can service a lot of units within a very short driving distance, transport distance from this factory in the Bay Area. So close in. We could have located in Nevada, or we could have located 2 hours outside of the Bay Area, but this is within essentially a half hour to 50-minute radius of almost all the new construction going on in the central core of the Bay Area. In an existing building that is 245,000 square feet, so plenty of room and room for expansion. All of this on an old naval base where they used to build Liberty ships. The thing about that from a capital standpoint is this is capital light compared to building, like I visited Lindback's new building in Sweden, where they just spent $50 million on land they already owned. So, and I'm aware of other factories that are under construction that are investing $100 million out of the gate. That is a very large capital nut to then build your business off of and make money anytime soon. So we chose to do a little less automation, less capital intensive, and get started. So first project rolled off the line or started on the line in March of 2017. Anyway, we've done 5 projects in like a year and a half as we've been ramping up, adding employees, getting up to full capacity. And we've done that with, basically $12 to $15 million startup capital. That is much easier to amortize than $100 million. So I think thinking about how to get started, you want to get projects going, you want to get them going now, and you want to make a difference quickly. And you can add in more and more innovation, which we're doing, which leads me to the third point. We have a very clear-eyed partnership and innovation plan that we are activating on. So we do partnerships with local government, with nonprofits on standardizing their product. We have research going on with the state of California on energy efficiency to demonstrate how much more energy efficient buildings are built inside of a factory. And so we're constantly iterating on what we have, but at the same time, we're continuing to actually produce product. And I think, to me, that is the safest way to actually be transformative, rather than try to, invest a whole lot of money up front in a whole lot of new technology, and maybe you'll hit a home run, and maybe you won't. And so it's kind of splitting the baby, but it's being bold and transformative more quickly. And I think that level of urgency is what we need. The last thing I will say is this issue of constantly going back to the 1950s, of working with government, working with philanthropy to really ensure that the work that is coming out of these factories is the most affordable it can be. And I'm not talking about necessarily dedicated, quote, affordable housing, although we do a lot of that, but ensuring that we are dealing with the broad spectrum of housing needs in this country that are not being served today. We kind of have a barbell effect going on with, if you can get public subsidy, you can build something for people at very low income, or we're building for very wealthy, and in between are really stuck. And I think this is a moment in time where we can bring offsite construction with other public policy changes in zoning, which Minneapolis, by the way, is doing, leading the country on. Other kinds of public policy changes that can facilitate the adoption of offsite construction and can facilitate expedited production in general for the broad workforce. And I think that's what it's going to take for us to really, I don't want to say get ahead of this problem, because we're in a deep hole, but we were in 1952, 1950s as well, and we got out of it, and we can do it again. Thank you.